So on Monday, the Washington Post released a report that showed a consistent amount of lying regarding the Afghanistan war. Um, they've been in litigation for about 3 years with our government to be able to release it. I'm completely surprised, by the way, that the Washington Post is doing actual journalism. It's very shocking. One of the main things that has been said and has been argued, especially in progressive, you know, loops, is the fact that we're doing 10 to 14 hours of live TV every day about the impeachment. And we all know where the impeachment's going to end. It's going to fail. It's going to get to the Senate and it's going to die. That's what's going to happen. Like, everyone knows that. I know that, and I'm just a dumb jerk off in a home studio. But this report should be what all major media outlets are talking about because it shows that with not only did the U.S. government and officials lie to us about getting into Afghanistan, reasons why, but also about keeping us in Afghanistan. And when top officials were interviewed in this report, they said they really had no idea what the objective was. There was no clear cut, hey, this is victory. Nope. They didn't set any precedent because they didn't want there to be a victory. They wanted to keep draining and draining tax dollars. Because obviously, certain people are getting wealthy, mega wealthy, to the tune of $2 trillion so far has already gone into the Afghanistan war. So, yeah, if you're people like Lockheed Martin, or Raytheon, um, Halliburton, yeah, you want to keep this going. So, hey, General blah blah blah. Hey, I'm gonna have you just run around in circles, okay? All right, cool. Um, and our soldiers, yes, were given certain objectives, but these objectives were essentially, hey, we heard there might be some guys over there. Why don't you go check that out? And I don't want to take away what they did and what they were doing. In fact, it was dangerous because our troops were just let into, whatever. Of course, they had recon. Of course, they knew the situation. But if you were gonna go to fight an insurgent group, don't you think you'd like cut off their supply chain? You would have a definite plan to win. But no, there was nothing. It was just, well, we'll fight them when they pop up kind of thing because we want to keep that money rolling in. The amount of bodies and casualties that have added up, 2,100 troops, American troops. Um, I would say probably somewhere like 25,000 Afghanis, including their soldiers, insurgent soldiers, but more so civilians and people like that. I mean, and it would, some of the lying would break down like this. Um, Obama would say, "Hey, we're going to be doing another surge into Afghanistan. We're going to end it." So violence would peak. And they would say, "Okay, yeah, yeah, see, this is what's happening. We're winning this fight. That's why violence is peaking right now." But then when when violence was low, when it was calm, they'd say, "Yeah, see, we're winning because there's nothing happening." You can't have one or the other. And yes, at the very end there would be a lot of violence, but then that would be the end. This was just peaking with violence and then drop off, peaking with violence, drop off. And every time that there was a change, they would tell us, yeah, the war efforts in Afghanistan are getting better. We're getting through there. We're going to do this. I would be curious how many other wars we we've been lied to about. You can't tell me Afghanistan's the only one. Um, I mean, we're technically still at war with Iraq. I would love to see reports on that. Um, I mean, going back honestly into Vietnam. Now I know that I think there was um, a plan, an actual, hey, this is going to be victory formation. This is how we get there. I think. I don't know. But I would argue that from around that period to now, we don't win wars, we just keep them going because, you know, the defense contractors, the government officials, hell, even the media companies that take money from defense contractors, war is a good thing for them. They make a lot of money. And if innocent civilians and our troops die in the meanwhile, it happens. It's important that Lockheed Martin gets rich. It's important that the investors at Raytheon get a return on their money. It doesn't matter if your son or daughter dies in combat for, honestly, we don't know. For what purpose? Whatever. To make Raytheon more money. That's the purpose. So this should be what we're investigating. All of our politicians, Democrat, Republican alike, should say, no, 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 you know what, this whole Trump thing, yeah, it's important, but we need to go in on this. This is what we need to be investigating. The people who are responsible for this, they need to go down. One problem is they won't do that, and the reason why is because most of those people are them. Nancy Pelosi is a big, big person involved in all this. And of course, past presidents, Biden, Lindsey Graham. We don't want to drag John McCain's name through the mud, but you better bet he had his hand in this. A lot of people. In fact, almost all of them. I would argue 90 to 95% of them had their hand. I think there's maybe Rand Paul didn't, maybe. I'm sure he did on some things. Going into Iraq, I mean, there was only like 3 people who held out. But basically, you got Bernie, the new senators, a new congressmen and congresswomen. Uh, Obviously, the squad because they weren't there yet. And there's a few other people, but yeah, basically, you're gonna have like 20 people left. And honestly, it's what we should do. You say, screw them. We're gonna prosecute. Nothing else. Like major fines, and say, look, this is the last term you're serving, and you're done. You know, if you're Nancy Pelosi, this is it. You better hand the chair over to someone. I guess it's going to go to AOC because there'd be pretty much no one else in the House that could take it. Um, and we just have a massive re-election for all of these seats. I think that would be the best thing to do. It was interesting. One of the quotes in here was from a lieutenant general, and he said, if the American people had any idea how dysfunctional this was, the support for our politicians would be lower than anyone could imagine. He did go on to say his big fear would be the support in the military would also drop dramatically. Now, I don't think that would happen. I think we understand that our military, um, they do what they're told. I mean, that's what a good soldier does. And the only reason why we have this report and the only reason why we hear things like this is because the brass and some of the other people who are in the know, they report it and they tell us. If it wasn't for those guys, I mean, I say we owe those people in the military a debt of gratitude, saying, look, this has gone on this long, we need to stop it. and we're being lied to. You're being lied to. Um, it is just funny though. It goes back to the same thing that I talk about all the time. $1.5 trillion for free education. $20 billion to end poverty and homelessness. 20 billion, that's really not much. We raised our military spending this year $80 billion. We could have, all the homelessness, they could have homes right now. And we would still have been able to raise the spending $60 billion. Um, by the way, the $1.5 trillion for free education, do you understand that the payback on that, that would be an investment in our country? Not only the people who are going to go on and create things and people who are going to do better, they're going to have better jobs, and so our economy will pick up because of that. But instead, we gave $2 trillion to defense contractors. So, yeah, good job, America. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. You have a great evening.